Well, we all know my pal Lloyd Lindsay Young as a weather jockey, but did you know that Lloyd was once a disc jockey? That's how he began his career. I'm not going to say how many years ago, Lloyd.
No.
And that is why his special report tonight is very close to his heart. Lloyd?
Certainly is, sir. It was actually about, 14 years ago when I ended my disc jockey career. Morning Drive is radio's most competitive time, but one man is winning the ratings race hands down. Tonight, in the first part of my special report, we look at what it takes to be the #1 DJ in the #1 market.
DC 929, Imus in the morning.
Your pal how is?
Hi, everybody. Wolfman Jack here.
And I am Allison Steele.
Radio royalty in the world's toughest market, where ratings reign supreme. And a man named Nielsen has toppled broadcasting's biggest barons. But in a game where everyone claims to be #1, a relative newcomer is the king of Morning Drive, with more than 1.5 million regular listeners.
Oh, this is Scott.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't sound like you. What'd you come in for, the community bulletin board?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Dork. What do you want?
Michael Scott Shannon, disc jockey extraordinaire and program director at WHTZ-FM, home of the hits. Shannon captains an on-air staff lovingly known as the Morning Zoo.
Lloyd, didn't you used to be a disc jockey when you were just a young guy?
Yeah, I worked in some big markets. I really
Name
did.
two. Like what?
Yeah, like what? Oh, I have A&P, ShopRite. Scott Shannon sailed into a small Secaucus radio station in 1983. He gave it new call letters, a top 40 format, and took the station from worst to first in just 72 days.
The first thing it takes is an awful lot of hard work. And the other thing that I believe is important is to surround yourself with very, very good people. I really have a dedicated crew at the whole radio station. It's like just a family.
As zookeeper, Shannon's hand-picked the zoo zanies. Ross Burton, Shannon's sidekick and main morning man. J.R. Nelson, zoo producer and all-around creative spirit. Claire Stevens, newswoman and horrible scope reader. Professor Bell, in charge of public service announcements. And then there's the professor's assistant, the elusive Mr. Leonard.
He's never comes in for work. He's always sicker than a dog. He occasionally shows up, and he's always getting into some kind of trouble.
Good morning, Z100.
If you want my body and you think I'm sexy.
Mr. Leonard, where the heck are you? You're supposed to be into work by now.
Well, I thought this was a national holiday, dear Ross.
No. It's just Rod Stewart's 40th birthday.
Shannon created the zoo concept in Tampa, Florida, where it was a wild success.
Scott Shannon is probably the best program director in the United States of America, as well as being one of the finest air personalities in the world.
We don't do radio like anybody else. We do it very unusual, and our radio is not for radio people or professionals in the media. Our radio is for the people.
So what else does it take to be #1 in Morning Drive, the time slot that really counts in radio?
We hope it comes off as a spontaneous, witty, humorous show, but the preparation is behind it.
It's a lot of work by a lot of standards. We're actually producing all the phony commercials that you hear, all the phony songs, kibitzing back and forth, the phone calls and so on and so forth.
And here's your clue.
What?
What? You gotta be kidding, Ross.
Maybe
Did you play something,
Ross?
Ross?
I'll do it again here. Now, everybody be quiet.
Whoa.
Hey, pretty hard, huh?
No.
All right, I'll give you another clue.
The stakes are high. The game, to lure 17 million potential listeners to the dial and to keep them there. The payoff, loyal fans.
Hey, you want to talk to Lloyd Lindsay Young? Here's your big opportunity.
Now that Shannon and the zoo have conquered Morning Drive, they're not afraid of the competition.
My friend Don Imus.
Yeah.
Hey, watch this.
If you're listening, Don, you owe me $50, and I want it here tomorrow.
Will Don Imus pay up? Find out tomorrow when we talk to the outrageous, incomparable Imus in the morning.
A sleaze bag.
I'm what?
A sleaze bag.
I'm a sleaze bag?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much, dirtball.
You're ruining my reputation. reputation.
Do the cars.
What little there is of it.
Yeah, your reputation is on the wall at the Lone Star Cafe.
Real Genius coming up tomorrow night. Don Imus on News 9 Primetime. Later this week, we'll be hearing from Howard Stern, John Gambling, the Wolfman, Allison Steele, and a whole bunch more with our hot DJs.
Including one of my parents' favorites, William B. Williams.
William B. Williams, WNEW. He'll be along with us.
Okay.
Many others.
Thanks, Lloyd. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Still ahead, is St. John's the #1 college basketball team in the country?
Well, Jimmy will have the answer when he comes back with all the sports. Stay with us. And all you radio listeners out there, stay tuned to your TV set because Lloyd Lindsay Young is here right now with the second part of his special report on the area's hottest DJs, including the Reverend Billy Saul Hargis.
Yes, the Reverend will be with you in a moment. You know, when I think of radio in the tri-state area, one name usually springs to mind. When I think of radio in the nation, it's Don Imus, not only the tri-state area. Tonight in the second part of our special report on the area's red-hot DJs, we look at this always outrageous and complex man.
Oh, no, what can I say?
Just do the cars.
Just do the sleeve bag.
I'm what?
WN. BC, 929, Imus in the morning.
Everybody say, baby! Baby! Uh-huh.
There ain't no freeze as long as I got my plastic Jesus lying on the dashboard of my heart.
The irreverent Don Imus portrays the Reverend Billy Saul Hargis, operator of a discount house of worship.
In an electronics breakthrough we're pushing at you here, the world's first wholly personal computer. Oh, my God. Your electronic shocks that'll sizzle your socks ain't nothing more perverse than a hot steaming curse to say hallelujah. Say amen.
A veteran of WNBC-AM, Imus in the Morning has been waking up listeners in the metropolitan area since 1971. Today, he shares a microphone with Mike Lupica of the Daily News. They're about to hear from Imus in the Morning Vice President and General Manager Santana Banana.
What these eminent university scientists have done, synthesize an aphrodisiac for cockroaches. We got 2/3 of a planet here, starving, and we got a bunch of eggheads standing around studying what makes bugs.
Imus's outrageous humor broke new ground in our area and earned him a long-lasting and honored place among fellow broadcasters.
Imus is a very nice guy, and that's why he's making it in the New York market, because people love him. They love his antics.
I think Imus is the grandfather I never had.
Despite an unparalleled career, Imus's fortunes have been checkered. A clash with NBC management led to a brief spell of unemployment.
I had one offer from Jack in the Box to work the order mic.
Imus returned to NBC in 1979, untamed and unrepentant. Today, he launches a salvo at helicopter pilot Roz Frank.
I'm what?
A sleaze bag.
I'm a sleaze bag?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much, dirtball.
You're ruining my reputation.
Do the cars.
What little there is of it.
Yeah, your reputation is on the wall at the Lone Star Cafe,
Oh, they added it
where the
there.
motto is too much ain't enough.
But there is a dark, sober side to this funny man, a long battle with alcohol and drugs.
I was uncomfortable with people. I never got involved in anything other than uppers and cocaine, but I got involved in a lot of it. And in my case, it just got worse and worse and worse. Back when I was taking drugs, I used to take, when I get my teeth cleaned, I get a prescription of Percodan.
Don Imus has also kept up with the times. He now appears on MTV's new music service, VH1.
Two institutions of the music world, Dick Clark and the Beatles, next on VH One-on-One, sponsored by the people who gave me this Rolex watch.
Imus shares the radio and TV airways with Morning Drive rival Scott Shannon, program director and air personality at WHTZ, known as Z100. Shannon is giving Imus a run for his money during Morning Drive. What does the veteran think of newcomers?
The problem is to sustain yourself here, you know.
Imus, I think, is just a wonderful jock and a wonderful personality, and I don't think we'll ever tarnish his star.
Few dispute Imus's reputation as one of the world's most famous radio personalities. Other broadcasters most certainly owe him a debt. His brave, stinging humor has paved the way for the likes of fellow NBC jock Howard Stern.
I'm the most successful disc jockey, period, in the United States.
You are, Howard? Okay. Well, that, of course, is WNBC AM afternoon man, the controversial, sometimes obnoxious Howard Stern. We'll hear more from him tomorrow night.
He escaped to New Hampshire in a Chevy, sweating palms and hands and shaking knees. He did not want to go to Rikers Island.
The obnoxious Howard Stern tomorrow night on News 9 primetime at 8 o'clock. And all this week, we'll be hearing from radio's biggest names like Imus, more from him, along Ron Lundy of CBS-FM, Allison Steele, Wolfman Jack, William B. Williams, the list goes on and on.
And we're going to go rambling with gambling.
We certainly
right?
are, absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, Lloyd.
Okay.
Thank you, Lloyd. Coming up next, a thank you to New Jersey from Coretta Scott King.
And Jimmy will have all the sports, including a squeaker between Georgetown and Syracuse, so don't go away.
Jimmy.
Well, Lloyd Lindsay Young, the man who was once a DJ, is back with more of his special report, Part 3, on our area's hottest radio personalities. And Lloyd, I understand tonight you're looking at a guy who's been saying nice things about you all afternoon on WNBC.
Yes, as a matter of fact, for the last 8 or 10 afternoons. The most outrageous man on the local airways is also one of the funniest. And in the third part of my special on the area's red-hot DJs, we're going to profile Howard Stern, the man of many words and stinging humor.
Your pal Howard. Hey.
He's a little off the wall, but, you know, I could get into him. I can't stand him.
Is he on ABC? He wasn't on WNBC when I was in 7th grade.
Howard Stern, afternoon jock at WNBC AM. Outrageous, sometimes offensive, but always entertaining. Today he launches one of his favorite bits. He holds a vigil for Manhattan's so-called subway vigilante, Bernhard Goetz.
He escaped to New Hampshire in a Chevy. He did not want to go to Rikers Island.
What we do on the radio is comedy. I don't care about NBC's license. I don't care about the FCC. I just care about Howard Stern getting on and saying what he wants.
Stern's longtime partner is golden-throated Robin Quivers. Howard and Robin hooked up when Stern was on the air in Washington, D.C.
My daughter bit Robin in the head.
Now, what it is she shaves her eyebrows.
No, Robin got bit in the head by my daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's Imus.
Today, a surprise visit from fellow NBC superstar, Don Imus.
Has Imus been flashing someone?
Don's got an overcoat on here. I don't know.
Hey, Imus, did you go to one of those tanning parlors again?
Hello, New York. Hello, Donnie.
We think we can win here at NBC with AM radio. I think we've pretty well proven that with Howard and
I do a lot of entertaining on the radio. I'm not disgusting. I'm not dirty. I'm not going to rape your daughter.
The music, obviously, is secondary.
We play 4 records an hour, maybe 5. We're supposed to play about 8.
I don't listen to talk shows.
Howard who?
Being a communicator does not give you the license to be tacky.
You're on the air.
Hello, Howard.
Oh, here we go.
Hello, Howard. Bernard Hugo gets.
Oh,
Despite his phenomenal success, Howard says he plans to leave radio for what he calls bigger and better things.
After I finish out this contract, that's it for radio. When you see me on television, you'll know what television's all about.
All right.
This is a vow. I will never do another one of these disc jockey reports.
Here's the thing, Howard. If somebody shows up with a camera, you'll do it.
Oh, look who's talking.
Nobody hug the camera. Channel 9 here, Robin.
Lloyd says to me, asks me one of these questions. He says, you know, I have 3 young children at home.
That's right, Howard.
And what, don't you think it's terrible that you talk about lesbians and homosexuals on the air? I think it. I said, why don't you just get out of my office, Lloyd?
I mean, you know what I told him?
What?
I said I thought that what you were doing, if these kids can't find out from their parents, I thought that what you were doing was a public service. Isn't that what I said?
Thank you.
That's what you said. You defended him. Yeah. You defended him.
Thank you, Imus. very
Although
nice
I
of
think
you.
some of the things you do are scummy. And I think you're scummy, but I still like you.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be a successful slime ball?
You guys got to get out of here. I'm being serious. You're driving me crazy.
Irritating? Me? Howard, you've got to be joking. We put that one to the test. We asked the public just who is more obnoxious.
Oh, Howard Stern by far.
Boy, Lloyd.
Howard Stern. I love Lloyd Lindsay Young.
Definitely Lloyd Lindsay Young is definitely the most obnoxious. Get out here.
Well, you can't win them all, folks. You win a few, you lose a few, and some are rained out. By the way, Howard attributes his great creativity to a dozen years of transcendental meditation. Really. Tomorrow, we'll be hearing from one of the morning drive time giants.
Format may be new to the rest of the world. Here at WOR, we've been doing basically a news talk format in the morning for far better than 25 years.
Well, that is the one and only John Gambling of WOR AM Radio. We'll talk to him tomorrow night on News 9 Prime Time at 8, along with William B. Williams, a great gentleman, and Allison Steele, a lovely lady. And on Friday, we'll hear from the Wolfman, baby. Chuck Leonard will be here, and Ron Lundy, another legend at CBS FM. That's it.
You know, I thought Howard sounded rather tame. I was very surprised.
Cameras intimidate, Howard.
I think it's only what we're able to air, because we have to abide by the FCC rules here.
Still ahead, Jimmy, with all the sports.
He's going to have a special look at a Mets fan's dream
This has been
come
the
true.
greatest 3 weeks of my life. No offense to my wife, but this has been the best 3 weeks of my life.
Our favorite former disc jockey is back with more of his special report on the area's hottest radio personalities. Lloyd?
Thank you, Reg. Thank you. Tonight, we look at some of the veterans who know what it's like to survive in the world's most competitive market. In part 4 of my special report, 3 disc jockeys or radio personalities who have racked up 100 years of broadcasting between themselves.
8:53, the transit problems are minor at best this morning.
John A. Gambling, the voice of Morning Drive at WOR AM. Gambling began one of broadcasting's most illustrious careers at WOR back in 1951. Gambling has attracted a faithful audience over the years by providing listeners with a steady diet of news, weather, and sports.
Neil talked with the show's judge, Joe Wapner. Do people know that Mr. Wapner is a real judge?
Here comes the judge.
They thought I was an actor.
Gambling is the middle member of a 3-man dynasty that began with his father, John B., in 1924. Today, Gambling shares on-air duties with his son, John R.
How much is $1 billion? We took our Rambling with Gambling microphones outside to find out. A lot of money.
The informative news talk format is rated second in the market, just behind WHTZ's zany Scott Shannon and his morning Zoo Crew, which caters to a youthful audience.
Someone who likes the Rambling with Gambling format is not even going to begin to understand what Scott is doing, and I think the reverse is also true.
The Gambling sound and format have staying power. The ratings prove that. But like other veteran radio personalities, Gambling understands the shortcomings of the rating books.
Most broadcasters consider ratings to be accurate when they're very good and in your favor. And when they're not so good, well, they...
Like John Gambling, WNEW AM radio personality William B. Williams has been a familiar and much-loved voice in our area. His loyal listeners have been tuning in to Willie B. since 1944, when he first came to WNEW. Willie B. and the Make-Believe Ballroom are a radio institution. The secret of William B.'s long-lasting success?
I got some pretty good opening acts going for me. Sinatra and Basie and Lena Horne and Stephen Eady and Streisand and Tony Bennett.
What is the real Frank Sinatra like?
He's a mercurial, volatile, talented, caring, compassionate, loyal human being.
During a career spanning a record-breaking 40 years in New York radio, Williams has seen some changes he doesn't like.
Being on radio, being a communicator, does not give you the license to be tacky, or distasteful.
What we do on the radio is comedy. There is about 1% of the audience who misses the whole boat.
The first woman disc jockey to make it big is also at WNEW AM. Allison Steele paved the way for other women in broadcasting, but often paid a price.
Nobody was ready for women on radio. It was phone calls of, get that broad off the air.
Steele first began at WNEW FM in 1966. Her sultry voice earned her the nickname The Nightbird.
This is Allison Steele with a little night music here at WNEW until midnight.
Steele recently returned to WNEW, this time on AM. She's no longer playing rock and roll, but says the key to success is the right blend of music and personality. Steele says she, too, has seen some developments in radio she doesn't like. She says fewer women appear to want to be radio personalities. Her advice for those who do?
When I lectured a lot at colleges, which I did all through the 60s and 70s, the most asked question was, how does a girl get to be a disc jockey? And my answer was always, the same way a guy gets to be a disc jockey.
Absolutely. That's right, Allison. Well, tomorrow night, we'll hear from one disc jockey who's just about seen it all.
I enjoy my life. I have a very good time. I don't think I'm too self-destructive. I'm still here. You know what I mean? I've lived in the fast lane, the slow lane, and the medium-sized lane. I like them all.
All right, Wolfman. That's Wolfman Jack coming up tomorrow night. We'll hear more from him on News 9 primetime at 8 o'clock, along with another living legend, Ron Lundy, CBS FM, and the incomparable Chuck, I call everybody incomparable, but Chuck Leonard of KISS FM. I'll tell you, Reg, they are what I wanted to be, all of these guys, because when I was growing up in L.A., I wanted to be a big-time disc jockey, and I never made it.
When I first started working in radio, Chuck Leonard was big time already.
Well, he's still big time.
When I started, William B. was big time. Well, coming up, John Riggins and his adventures at a black tie banquet.
And St. John's in the hot seat, trying to stay #1. Jim will have all the sports. It's time for a little music, and our disc jockey turned weatherman is here now with the final part of his special report on the area's hottest radio personalities. Lloyd?
Reg, I can hardly wait for this one. You know, radio has evolved over the decades, and the top-rated personalities have weathered the changes, and somehow they've survived. In the final part of my report, we look at some living legends who are still a hit.
Hello, love. Good morning, everybody. This is Ron Lundy on CBS FM 101.
Ron Lundy, manning the mic from 9 to noon. Like the other disc jockeys here at WCBS FM, Lundy plays the hits most of us will never forget.
I keep working my way back to you,
No stranger to the market, Lundy worked at WABC for 17 years. He joined WCBS FM last year, where fellow WABC veterans Harry Harrison and Cousin Brucey also have programs.
It's like I'm a kid again since I've been over here.
Lundy began his broadcasting career in 1956. He's worked with most of the great radio personalities.
Bill Brown, Harry Harrison, Herb Oscar Anderson, Don Imus.
Lundy has seen major changes in radio over the years.
Yes, indeed. We are celebrating 30 years of rock and roll.
FM is the biggest change. Used to be in the days of the big AM stations where you got all that power. Right. You really had no competition.
Right.
And now the competition is just so heavy.
Veteran superstar Wolfman Jack says AM radio could make a comeback.
With AM stereo now, I tell you, to me, it's a better sound than FM stereo. It's got more of a punch to it, especially for rock and roll.
What do these pros think of today's music?
I think the music has improved so much in the last 2 to 3 years.
And all you got to do is just drift right into where it is at.
Like Ron Lundy, KISS FM's Chuck Leonard is a veteran of WABC. Leonard has adapted easily to changes in popular music. He now plays urban contemporary every evening from 6 till 10 p.m.
Chuck Leonard here, making your evening feel all better inside of a Kiss FM special music sweep. We're going for at least 8 songs in a row. We now deal with a lifestyle type of programming. And for New York City, lifestyle means all kinds of ethnic groups and all kinds of taste. It's not just black, Hispanic, and white. It's Italian, Chinese, it's whatever.
Chuck says the key to staying on top in the #1 market is stamina.
They count on me being there. I found out that when someone turns on the radio and they expect you there, you're not there, it throws off their entire day.
But the real secret of radio success?
Knowing your audience, a lot of caring about them, a lot of response to them. If they write you, you write them back. If they ask you a question, you try your best to answer it. You give of yourself. And then you pray at night.
The future of radio?
Nothing will ever hurt radio, because you sure can't drive a car and watch television at the same time, you know?
So you had better do what you were told. You better listen to the radio.
Oh, that was fun. That was the most fun I've ever had in my entire broadcasting career, covering the living legends. By the way, Chuck Leonard says he keeps in touch with changes in tastes of listeners by doing a lot of reading. He goes to nightclubs, and he takes part in a lot of charitable activities. Reg, I'm not kidding. I don't want to be redundant, but it was a thrill with a capital T.
How long have you been working on that Wolfman Jack impersonation?
Well, baby.
Thank you, Lloyd. Well, coming up next, early highlights of the Isles and the Devil.
And Rutgers battles West Virginia in an overtime squeaker. Jimmy will have all the sports.
The pop song One Night in Bangkok may be topping the pop charts, but it's getting no airtime in Thailand. It's been banned from government-owned radio and TV stations. The lyrics contain references to prostitutes in a Buddhist temple. Thai officials found the song offensive.
Well, that song has helped make Top 40 radio a big hit nationwide. In a follow-up to a series of special reports earlier this year, Lloyd Lindsay Young looks at the area's hottest morning DJs and some who are on their way up. Tonight, Morning Drive is hot and heating up.
WN. DC 929.
I'm Michael Scott, Shannon, Ross Bertine, the whole zoo crew.
WPLJ, Power 95, 16 before 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm Jim Kerr.
Morning Drive. Motorists battle it out on the road.
The heat is on the street.
On the car radio, a war of a different sort.
Pressure's high, just to stay alive.
These are some of the greatest broadcasters in the country. In a way, that worked to my advantage because I didn't develop any kind of act because I didn't feel that I could and do it well enough to compete with those people, so I just fell back on my own personality.
Jim Kerr, a leading contender in the Morning Drive ratings race. He's been working the early shift at WPLJ-FM for more than 10 years. Kerr plays the top 40 hits. His morning crew provides news, sports, traffic, and weather reports that make Morning Drive a bit less painful.
Our role, as we see it, is to try to wake people up in a good mood and get them on their way.
We stop by to see if it works. Like Kerr, the program is upbeat and easygoing. The crew, newswoman Shelley Sonstein, also noted for her risque jokes. Donnie Malloy, a machinist from Bayonne, famous for his belly laugh. And then there's Howard, the cab driver.
Hi there, weather lovers. Jewish Mother Sweater Alert is now Class 1 because the TIT, the technically inaccurate thermometer, roared right up to 55 degrees. The official Howard the Cab Driver radar shows rain on the way, and we've been doing our rain dance all morning. Right, that's our official rain dancer over there, and we will have some rain tomorrow.
Howard really did trade a taxi for a microphone and a chance to forecast the weather.
We've had real people on the program all through the years. I think it's one of the reasons why the program has been so successful.
How does Jim Kerr and the morning crew stack up against the competition?
WPLJ had one of its best ratings books in history.
As anyone that listens to radio around the market knows, they've completely duplicated our format because what they had just didn't work.
How does Don Imus feel about morning drive competitors like Kerr and Shannon?
The problem is I've never heard them, so I don't know what they do.
Kerr also competes with this man.
I used to do voiceovers for dirty movies. You know, the moaning and stuff? That's how I started. I'm not kidding you. I did the cut.
He got out of that line of work and on to a career on the radio. Jay Thomas, morning man at KTU 92 FM. And he gets a little help every morning from a familiar voice. Hello, Coney Island! Jay Thomas hit town back in 1979 after enough stops in southern radio stations to make up a bus schedule.
Does that tie commemorate all of the food that you've dropped on from every fast food restaurant in New Jersey?
This tie has been through numerous television stations.
How many
Jay?
TV stations has that tie been at?
7.
7 TV stations.
That's right.
Right.
Thomas has been working at KTU since the station's glory days of disco. That is, when he isn't off pursuing an acting career. Thomas has played in repertory theater, soap operas, as well as a regular role on TV's Mork and Mindy.
Most disc jockeys, they're just disc jockeys. I think it would be very boring just to have this job, and then I don't know what the hell I would do from 10 until the next morning at 6. So the acting and the commercials sort of fill the time, you know.
Like PLJ's Jim Kerr and Z100 Scott Shannon, Thomas plays the hits. So what sets morning drive disc jockeys apart?
I want to apologize to Miss McGirt that I thought the jingle said dingbat, it said dirtbag.
Personality. Call it the cheerful Midwest humor of Jim Kerr or the razor edge wit of Jay Thomas. But what about the music? If Top 40 is such a big hit in morning drive, do disc jockeys in other formats feel left out?
The bigger the share you have, the more dollars your radio station is going to bill, and specifically in the morning, which is prime time listening. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure.
Well, most of the disc jockeys we showed you tonight play top 40. Now, if you're looking for something a little different, tune in tomorrow night for the alternatives. We'll show you why the urban contemporary sound is making it big at KISS FM and WBLS. And stomp your feet to the beat of the market's only country music station, WHN AM. Tune in for the uplifting sound of jazz, WBGO. One-of-a-kind music with a special purpose. So we've got a lot more coming up, Sarah.
Oh, you sure do. I like that. But I didn't like Jay Thomas beating up on my buddy.
Well, I have a hard head.
Well, of course, Lloyd is going to be back in just a minute with his forecast, so you want to stick around.
Stay with me.
News 9 is brought to you by Concord Watch.
This style rock and roll isn't being played much on the radio these days, but almost everything else is. Tonight, in the second part of his special report, Lloyd Lindsay Young looks at the area's hottest DJs in jazz, country, and urban radio.
Hothead Z100, 9:40, 20 before 10 o'clock. Michael Scott, Shannon, Ross Martin, the whole zoo crew.
Z100, WPLJ, KTU, Top 40. These days, programmers call it contemporary hit radio. Where do you turn for something different?
We would not only play country music, but a special breed of country music.
If you're a country music buff, there's just one place to turn. WHN 1050 AM, the only country station in the market. Lee Arnold at the mic at midday.
1050 WHN, that's Johnny Lee, the hero of the urban cowboy set.
A longtime country music fan, I stopped by to sample Arnold's entertaining mixture of guests, music, and trivia. I like the crossover country, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what you get plenty of here at WHN.
I noticed that.
And since you like Charlie Pratt, I said what we're going to do. We're going to play a great Charlie Pratt song for you right now.
Well, I came in late again last night.
But basically, I think the country music scene at one time was different in Nashville and also in Phoenix. They're playing a lot of crossover. They're playing Michael Martin Murphy, and they're playing a lot of the things that we're playing. Ray Charles.
But is country music chic?
There's a lot of guys who drive around their cars in New York with the windows up, even with not because they have air conditioning. They don't want the guy next to them to know they're listening to Merle Haggard.
If country music isn't your cup of tea, you can tune into the #1 station in the market, and it's not top 40.
The music of 1985 is urban music.
That consists of rhythm and blues, rap, pop, and some jazz. It seems to work. KISS toppled Z100 in the last ratings book.
For a station to go from a 5.3 to a 6.0, it's nearly a share increase. That's more than a fluke.
Oh, no, it's not a fluke. It happens every summer and every winter. But when the full books are rated, the fall and the spring books, we'll be back. You know, we'll be the number one. We'll be the number one station in the next book.
The magnitude of that sentence, KISS is number one, is just overwhelming.
The secret of success? Some shift changes and the addition of this woman.
More of the best new music that matters to you first, coming up on KISS.
KISS is also an innovator.
I can name records on top of my head that we played maybe a month and a half ago, or started playing close to 2 months ago, and that the CHRs are picking up on now.
The number one teen station, KISS competes with WBLS, which has catered to a slightly older audience.
6:47 the time, keeping it hot, Rick Ricardo on a Tuesday, Rick and Roll.
My audience seems to run from, say, the 15-year-old to the 55-year-old.
Well, that's even better.
Yes, I've gotten calls from both ends of the spectrum, and of course those in the middle.
WBLS in a class by itself at 107.5 on your FM dial. The lineup includes Ricky Ricardo from 6 to 10 p.m. and late-night air personality Vaughn Harper.
The music has a tendency to tell a story, and whatever you need at that particular point, you can reach out and grasp from the music.
If it's jazz you want, there is only one place to go.
One of the reasons that I think people are appreciative of WBGO is because the music that we play, they find uplifting.
Rhonda Hamilton, on the air every afternoon at the only jazz station in the market, WBGO Jazz Radio in Newark.
This is a John McLaughlin composition, Follow Your Heart.
As an affiliate of National Public Radio, WBGO is a non-commercial station and therefore has a special relationship with its listeners. Your listeners, as subscribers, help finance this operation.
Right, and our listeners are very, very loyal and very supportive of us. We had a fundraiser in February and we raised over $200,000.
A broadcast veteran of 10 years, Hamilton is more than just a pretty voice. Like Vaughn Harper, her music has a special mission.
I'm seeking a knowledge of myself and eventually a knowledge of God.
Well, if you're tired of all the hype from the big radio stations in New York and Philadelphia, tune in tomorrow night for a look at some of the grassroots challengers. We'll visit with Jay Sorensen, the voice of WPSC in Trenton. For another Jersey jock, meet Mary Ann of WMTR in Morristown. And we'll talk to the man who runs the one and only, or one of the very few mom and pop type radio stations. It's WHTG in Eatontown, little ma and pa station. Kind of fun out there in the country.
You've been all over the place.
I'm almost like Hank Snow. I've been everywhere.
Thanks, Lloyd. Well, Lloyd is going to be back in just a moment, of course, with his forecast. Right now, let's look at the stocks. Another record close today on Wall Street. Here are those numbers.
News 9 is brought to you by First Fidelity Bank.
There are many personalities who've grown up in the broadcasting business, and tonight in the fourth part of our special report on the area's hot DJs, Lloyd Lindsay Young looks at some veteran broadcasters on midday and afternoons. He begins with the man who made the words, "Hello, Kimosabi," a catchphrase.
I'm so happy this is number one because every time you buy a copy of this record, you help somebody stay alive.
The legendary Dan Ingram plying his craft. If you grew up in this area, the voice may be familiar. Ingram has spent nearly 30 years in this market.
Tomorrow, bright, sunny, breezy, high in the 60s? I had an uncle who was high in the 60s.
After 2 decades at WABC Radio, Ingram recently joined KTU for your afternoon listening pleasure. It's the latest stop in a career that started in 1953 in a small New Rochelle radio station. He has few illusions about the business.
How cutthroat is the broadcasting business?
About as cutthroat as you can get and stay legal. I'm sure that there are 28 guys who would like my job. 14 front of 5 on 92 KTU with me, Dan Ingram, every afternoon. Go ahead, Gina.
Ingram is playing the hits now, much as he did while at WABC. He says Top 40 is here to stay.
Contemporary CHR, they're calling it contemporary hit radio. That'll continue. People always want to hear what's currently popular.
Top 40 may be the latest radio rage, but there's still one place for rock and roll.
How long have you been pumping the hits here, Scott?
Since 1812. Now, when did Marconi do his thing?
Scott Muni, a gravelly voice rock and roll institution. Afternoons at WNEW-FM. His fans have long called him the Professor.
I started doing some things on the air about the history of the music, and we used to have lessons in the afternoon, so from then on in, the listeners gave me that, and they just wrote to the Professor.
Like Ingram, Muni has been on the radio for decades. He's seen major changes, but says he'll never forget the early days of rock and roll.
We were the only real rock and roll station because we weren't afraid to play the new artists, The Who, Supertramp, Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
When Muni finishes up, Carol Miller takes over behind the mic.
And request lines are open, 212-955 WNEW. That's bang a gong, get it on.
A graduate of the University of Pennsylvania and Hofstra Law School, Miller could have had her choice of several careers. Why did she choose broadcasting?
I was doing this first, and I decided I really enjoyed being on the broadcasting end, and I would like to do different things in that area, but just having a law background helps you in dealing with, well, not only your own contracts, but just understanding situations.
Miller is also married to MTV heartthrob Mark Goodman. Like Goodman, Miller also appears on television. She's a reporter for Entertainment Tonight.
And the Taylors have to make sure they're ready to record the next Duran album in September.
While many radio personalities are moving into television, one of TV's most hilarious comedians has returned to radio.
Always be original. Why be second-rate when you could be pick of the litter? You'll be a much better Persian for it. Why, you can travel as fur as your hair to Angora.
Soupy Sales, 10 to 3 on WNBC Radio. The man of 19,000 cream pies.
Is it in good shape? Oh, yeah, and I'll let you have it cheap.
Cheap? What's wrong with it?
Well, nothing, only the letter L is missing.
Well, how does it write?
Alzy.
Soupy Sales actually started out on the radio back in 1946 at a West Virginia radio station. He says WNBC is like coming home to roost.
It has music, it has comedy, and guests and everything. It works. It's like the old days of radio.
Sales has come between two prickly NBC superstars. He follows Imus in the morning and hands the mic over to Howard Stern later on.
I think it's the strongest block in daytime radio in the United States.
Well, tomorrow we'll hear more from Soupy Sales as we look at some radio trends. We'll talk to Z100 Scott Shannon and discuss how radio is affected by TV music videos. And we'll look at how AM radio is making a ratings comeback with colorful on-the-air personalities. AM's coming back too. It's really something, sir.
Nice piece tonight.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed hearing from the Professor.
Scott Muni.
Especially, yes. And Lloyd's going to be back, of course, with the weather in just a minute. But first, let's look at the day on Wall Street.
In tonight's final part of his special report on the area's hottest DJs, Lloyd Lindsay Young looks at trends in radio, including the rebirth of AM and the return of the top 40. Lloyd reports AM suffered in the late 70s and early 80s, but it's making a comeback thanks to the top 40 format.
Hothead Z100, 9:40, 20 before 10 o'clock. Michael Scott, Shannon, Ross Bateen, the whole Zoo crew.
Z100, leader of the top 40 pack, which includes WPLJ and KTU. Also known as contemporary hit radio, the new format helped bring the medium out of its recent slump.
Top 40, such as it was adult contemporary music. It was mellow stuff. Rock radio was for young headbanging boys.
I think the music got a whole lot better. Top 40 really began to develop again as a major format in '83 and '84.
The new top 40 consists of pop, rock, country, and urban contemporary. Now everyone's doing it.
We were first.
PLJ has, you know, as anyone that listens to radio around the market knows, they've completely duplicated our format.
Hit radio may have a new attitude and a new sound, but it owes a debt to television.
MTV rediscovered the connection between rock music and television. That connection has been around as long as the Beatles, as long as the Monkees, as long as the Partridge Family.
Music has gotten better. What we did was give an artist and a member of the audience a new dimension to tune in on.
A former PLJ disc jockey, Goodman is one of many radio stars who've discovered the TV music connection.
VH1 Video Hits One with Billy Ocean. This is Caribbean Queen.
Credited for starting the CHR revolution, Z100 Scott Shannon also appears on VH1, MTV's new music service, along with WNBC's Don Imus and former BLS DJ Frankie Crocker.
On the radio, we kid around a lot, and I'll tease about, oh, I'm having to play Air Supply and Julio and John Denver and that kind of thing. But that's the audience we're trying to get to.
VH1 is much more of a comfortable, relaxing atmosphere for that type of viewer who maybe doesn't want the noise, the loudness, the insanity. So for that reason, we position VH1 completely different than MTV.
They're doing it so cheaply. They don't even have a teleprompter. They have one camera, and then they put it all together on the air, and it looks absolutely schlock.
If music is the star of FM and music services, AM radio must take a different approach.
I think people discover the records sound better on FM. So, yeah, but it's not as much static. They get it from 2 speakers.
They've managed to bolster the ratings for the sagging AM stations by putting personalities on there. Another big format for AM has been the big band format.
The subway chimes a song.
WNEW-AM has long capitalized on the big band sound. WNBC-AM took the other approach.
Don Imus for the Great American Smokeout.
Are you having trouble making your pet elephant understand the words on the paper?
And then shaking knees. He did not want to go to Rikers Island and be forced to have sex with a man named Louise.
In a recent interview, Stern told us...
Everybody started stealing my act, like Scott Shannon and Jay Thomas. And
He has the same agent I have.
Is that right?
Yeah! The guy that represents me will take anybody's money.
Boy, you see, I see these for the first time when I sit out here on the set, so I hope you've enjoyed them as much as we have. Now, those, of course, are just some of the many personalities on AM radio. As for the future, music critics say we may soon see the rebirth of progressive underground radio. And that concludes Volume 2, Part 5. Okay?
Very, very good. I
Okay.
especially enjoyed Jay Thomas.
When's the
Looks like a lot
anthology
of fun.
coming out?
1996. I don't know yet. Maybe we won't.
Okay, thanks, Lloyd. Lloyd is going to be back in just a moment, of course, with his holiday forecast. But first, let's take a look at the day on Wall Street, see how it ended up.